We're live. Yes, we are now live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world, I suppose. Today we've got issue 4 of Combat Patrol. Slide that. It is issue 4. It is definitely issue 4. And in this one we get paint and we get a brush. And we get the usual magazine as well. Give it a crack open. As essentially as I do. So in this issue we get a starter brush, which is always comes in useful. Can't have too many brushes. I also get a McCrag base blue, which I have several of. So I will be looking for an open version when it comes to the paintings. In this case, I think there's one up here. Yeah, there we go. Got an open version. We're all right. We also get a base Barak Burgundy, which is kind of an odd purplish scale of burgundy. It's definitely a weird one that I've not got, which is excellent, a new colour. And my favourite colour that I use for pretty much everything. No worries, Beaky. Thank you very much for coming to join me, and at least I hope I don't bore you to sleep while you're looking for your car insurance. But yes, I have a new ivory. So I picked up Bony Spikes the other day, which is the Army Painter one. I wasn't too happy with the Duncan Rose ones, I've said many times. But I also now have the Citadel equivalent of ivory. So I can do a bit of testing over which ones I like and find out which one I like best. So 3 colours, a brush, and a magazine. So this one is how to paint your models. I don't know if that's redundant on this channel or not, but I'll follow it anyway. Tell us about the Silver Templars, which is, well, Hachette's own chapter, and how to use data sheets. So no missions? No mission? Oh, yes, we do get a mission. We do get missions. That's good. So we're getting to read data sheets and attack sequences in this one. Well, I didn't think we'd get a mission, but we have. Okay. So first of all, let's get back to the beginning. And it's going to be painting first up. How to get your painting set up. You need water. You need colours, preferably the ones they want you to use in this case. You need a brush. It says you need a paper towel. Essentially, you need some way of getting the excess water off your brush. That's what that means. You need your models, and you need the guide, is what it's saying. It says you could do with a wet palette or a palette pad. I did not set mine up first because I am an idiot. I'm a complete buffoon and moron. So how am I going to do sort that out? And get the layer of tape off it, go soak my thingy, and I'll be back in a second. But I've also got to dig out some models to paint. Right, so we have a wet palette now as well. Isn't that good? So we've got a wet palette ready. Well, okay, ready. I got the sponge wet, and then I'm going to put the parchment paper over the top, and hopefully it's all going to stick nicely, like it's supposed to. And the paint's not going to affect it too much. Close enough, that'll do. Base out the way, move the brush that it doesn't want me to use out of the way. Put the wet palette down, just out of view. It's just there, just underneath me. Aha, see. So where does it take us from here? water pots, some kind of palette, painting area essentials. Basically, have brushes available and anything else that you wish to use: texture spreaders, layer brushes, dry brushes, things. Have some kind of palette available. If you don't have a wet palette like I'm using here, or you don't have the Games Workshop palette pad, a dish will do just fine. Something to wash your brush with as well. Now, this is how it's telling you how to apply techniques. So you get a small amount of. I'm not going to use that brush because that's the brush it's going to want me to paint with. I will use. Nope, that one's got glue on it. I will use the Army Painter brush because it's slightly bigger. Why not? So it's going to tell us to get a little bit of paint out of the pot. And why is that so coated in red? Just get a clean brush, lads. Just get a clean brush. It'll be a lot easier. And try not to drop them all over the place as well. That one will do. So get a clean brush. Now it's telling, I don't know why, but it's telling us to paint the flamethrower blue. I'm just going to see where it moves on to. Right, it's giving the full model a blue coat. Okay. It wants me to paint an ultramarine. But I don't collect ultramarines. I collect my own chapter. I collect stone dragons, which is a salamander successor. So I'm not going to be following it fully to the letter. But I'll get close. So anyone who's watched my painting in the past, you'll know that I usually base coat black and then dry brush with the ivory, which is why ivory is my favourite colour. So I have the Sergeant already prepared from the Flavor Guys that we got last issue. So I have that prepared already. Now, in the case for me, I do happen to use the McCrag Blue. Just pull the the Blade Guard Veteran down. So the pauldrons and sometimes some of the trim and some of the livery is blue. So go to the captain that you would have got in issue 1. Obviously, I've already done his blue pauldrons there, and I've already started painting over his cloak. I could do with a bit of ivory up on there, though, just to bring that out. It should be nice. So in this case, I will only be doing the pauldrons blue. If you wish to follow this guide all the way through, they paint the entire model blue. I don't know why. Painting it black would be a better option, but they paint the entire model blue. That's how they teach you. Well, first of all, make sure you give your paints a shake, especially if you've just got the magazine. They won't be very well shook or well mixed. I'm not sure how well mixed this one is. It's been sat on my desk for a little bit. But we shall continue on. Now, it does give you, if you've noticed here, tell you if you've got too much paint going onto the model or not enough paint going onto the model. So we get the fun bit now of putting paint onto the wet palette and then trying getting it to the right consistency so you can paint it on and it'll be right in between those two sections. We hope. That's the plan anyway. So you get a dollop of or a splodge of blue paint. Pop it onto your palette, whether it be your dish or your wet palette or palette pad or however you're not using it direct from the tub. Clean that brush off because we don't want to particularly use it. And we're going to use the starter brush that we did get with today's issue. I'm just using an already open pot of McCrag Blue. I'm just going to move the wet palette up there for a minute. And as it's saying, create a pool of paint on the palette. After you wash your brush, let's carefully to a small amount of clean water with the brush and mix it with the paint. I've not put as much paint on as they have, so I don't need quite as much water. Not to say that I don't need it, it's just I don't need quite as much. So that should be sufficient for that. Now, I'm so old school. Good morning, Ali. I'm so old school that I basically get a paper towel. I go. I don't recommend it because, well, sucking paint off into your mouth is not good. It's not good at all. So once you've done that, you can, and you think and you're happy with how the paint is. You think it's the right consistency. If you've watered it down too much, you can always go back and just get a little bit more paint. You then in ideally 2 thinnish coats, painting the area that you want. No, the wet palette does not come with the issue, Steve. I'm afraid you get McCrack blue, you get a slightly purplish burgundy, and you get a wraithbone paint. Then you get a basic Games Workshop starter brush as well. Not to say the basic Games Workshop starter brush isn't all right. It works. It works just as well as any brush round about the same size and for the same quality. And seems, I don't know, is it technically free? Because most people, to be quite honest, if you're buying this magazine, you're not always getting it for the magazine. Sometimes you're getting it for the paints. Sometimes you're getting it for the models. That is exactly why I do that with the brushes, Ali, is because of how long I've been doing this. So to me, it's just force of habit. The brush goes in the mouth after it's come out of the paint, out of the water jar, just to take off all the excess. Now, ideally, you do every 2 to 3 returns to the wet palette. You want to be cleaning off your brush, just so you're not mounting up lots of paint within the insides, and it's going to get up into the ferrule and start pushing out bristles. We don't want that. So, going off its guide from earlier, I've definitely not got it over painted. It's not underpainted, as it's not too thinned out as such, but it's certainly more on the thinned out side. Kind of. This is one of the, in that movie that we watched on Monday. It's a Space Marine. Like, you are correct. You're correct. But these are Primaris Marines. These are slightly bigger than the ones that you saw in the movie. You're thinking, oh, geez, they were big enough. Yeah, I know. But these are slightly bigger. Very subtle differences between armors. But yes, it is. These are the ones that were in Awakening last night. Monday night. Or at least some of them. Yeah, he'd probably look more like it, having the big shield and the sword. You definitely saw, I like that shield. That guy. He's kind of like him. So that's the basics of what it tells you to do. Have I changed my position? No, I've just not shut the curtain back. Unless, have I? I may have changed the position of the camera, so you can't see the. Oh, it's the gun you recognise. Yes, the bolt pistol. Yeah, they're nice. This standard issue for Space Marines. So here we go through technique. When it comes to painting, it tells you to hold your brush and your models is important. Following advice can help you feel more comfortable and keep your hands steady. Keep your wrists against your desk as you paint, and this will support your wrists and help to keep your hands steady. For more detailed areas, press your wrists together and rest them both against the table for extra stability. So in summary, what you basically want to do is make sure you've got the 3 points. So 3 points on the desk, whether it be your elbows, your wrists, some part of your arm, and then if you want extra stability, bring them together. So my arms are on the desk there, put them together, and then nice and stable when I wish to run the brush. It's only got water on it at the moment, but nice and stable when I wish to run the brush over whichever area. And it's still kind of facing the window. There's still the window there. It's quite a long window. So they're telling us to do first, second, and third coats. But that's because what they've done here is pretty much the first coat is the priming coat, which would be, most people would use a spray of some kind and do it black or white or whatever the colour. They wouldn't sit there and do it with a brush. This magazine's making you do it with a brush. So technically I'm up to stage 2 already because I did mine black as a base coat. So I want third coat just to even it out and make sure I've got a nice even colour spread over the entire, in my case, pauldron. They want you to do the entire model if you're doing ultramarines. And there's nothing stopping you from getting all this, putting it to one side temporarily, and then go, right, I don't want to do ultramarines. I'm aware of blood angels. I'm aware of dark angels. And then once you've actually got the colours to do that chapter, come back, go to stage 1 and paint it up, but just slightly change the colours so you can do the chapter that you wish. So essentially this is coat 3 just to make sure it's all even and you've not got little bits of black showing up underneath. No worries, Alex. I'll see you back in a moment. Last 3 points of contacts, 1 at the wrist, 2 on the desk. Just to give you that ease while you're controlling the brush. And it might not sound like much, but it actually makes a huge difference. Just being able to keep your hands a little bit steadier. Because I know if, like me and many other people in this hobby, you might not necessarily have the steadiest hands in the world, especially by the time you've got to my age. So any little tips, any little tricks, they can help. They really can. It does tell you to change your paint water. Now again, he's painting the entire model blue. That unless you're doing ultramarines, there is no point in painting the entire model blue. With the Tyrannid, however, they've painted the entire model Wraithbone. So again, I have had multiple Tyrannids. Wasn't expecting to do this bit quite as so. There's one of the ones that I painted from the Leviathan box, and this is one of the ones that I've been trialing on. So to cover this Wraithbone section, the areas that are not quite covered as they should be, that are going to become green, I'm going to go back over them with the Wraithbone to see what the coverage is like. So it's going to be this fella that I do this time. And I definitely need to give this Wraithbone a good shake because ivories are pigment heavy, really pigment heavy paints. And if you don't give them a good shake, you just end up with medium on top and just almost a block of pigment at the bottom. I forgot that's the arm I had a blood testing, so let's not shake that one. Let's change over. Careful when you're opening it so it doesn't go and splatter everywhere in your face. Some people may want white stuff in their face. I do not. Again, just take a little bit out of it from the top. In this case, because this hasn't gone on properly, I'll just put it in that little section there where it's definitely a decently worked part of the wet palette. Wash off your brush. Same as it's tiny little bit of water mixed in. Then So rather than paint the entire model, because again I've gone for my own custom my custom high fleet, I don't like following their base rules. It locks you into a single set of rules. If you paint them all ultramarines, you're kind of locked into the ultramarine rule set, and I don't want to be. If you paint them as high fleet Leviathan or Behemoth, it'll lock you into the rule set for that high fleet. So again, I chose my own colour scheme. But just to see the coverage of this Wraithbone and how it works, I will be using that instead of the other one, which was the Army Painter one, which I thought would work quite well with it being an Army Painter base. But let's not lie, looking at this Wraithbone's going over very well. Even with just the initial, technically third layer, is covering these up nicely. So it's taking out all the yellow that was in there from when I sprayed it. Yes, clever me decided to spray yellow after spraying it purple. Which means when I come around to doing the purple Chitin armor, it's gonna be weird. At least to start with. Might take several thin coats just to get it back up to the level of purple that I would need it to be. So just making sure I cover everywhere where the yellow's still shining through, or where it's turned slightly more orange now. Not too bothered about getting any paint on the base because it will be getting based afterwards and covered up, so that's not too bad. Just the difficult part is getting in some of the more intricate nooks and crannies, like into the feet where it's now covered. It's a little bit awkward, but if I can get it into camera. As long as you're careful while you're getting down there, it is coverable and paintable. You just got to take your time. Don't try and rush it by putting big slobs on and getting loads of paint in your brush and think, I just want to get it done in one coat. The 2-coat method is tried and tested. It's proven to work. Generally, try and stick with the proven methods if you can. Airbrush being a slightly different set of rules to that, because if you can get a good enough coverage with an airbrush, then who am I to say not do it? That's while I am painting this. If you would like me to continue doing this magazine, please let me know in the description, in the comments down below. So the next issue is a limited edition model, and I don't know if I'll be able to get hold of that one. Good morning, Twisted. How are you? Which prime? Because I've got this one at this stage, and I've got this one at this stage. I've got another 3 to do. Wow, good morning, Mr. Herbs. How are you today? This morning, probably struggling to keep your eyes awake because this boring British bloke is swaddling on about plastic models. But yeah, I've still got another 3 of these to do. These should be fun. But I'll just get the ivory covered at the moment and get the sharp pointy bits ready to be going green to be maxing the rest of my army. And that I believe, is... Oh, no. We have one more little claw. Just one more. Which is this little fella down here. Forgot about him. Then getting on his hoof. Even though he's got wings, I doubt he'll be hoofing it. I certainly wouldn't if I could fly. So to me, these are more for stomping on things rather than walking over things. That's what I think he's going to use them for. Oh, a Magnus. Oh, big models take a long time. So good luck with Magnus today, mate, because he's an intricate one. Okay, so we've done as far up as I need to go with the model. So using the wraith bone itself, so anywhere that's, you can see here, the end of the claws, anything that's brighter and standing out more than any other part of the model. So the tips, where it's claws, his hooves, his tongue, his sides. That's where I've covered with ivory. I've also, yes, it has got a yellow underneath it, which is why it doesn't look quite as ivory as the actual paint looks. But that's the ivory for the Tyrannid. So it says your models should look either all blue or all ivory by the end, not rushed ahead like mine are. Do I read the story? I'll skip past the story because I know I'm not a very good storyteller. So we'll skip past that one. All right. So now we're talking about Space Marine characters. It's actually only one of these I don't have. I don't have that chappie over in the middle. I've got someone who can represent him. I just don't have that chappie. We have the captain already. And as I said, mine is a slightly different colour scheme to theirs. I do have a librarian in one of the boxes underneath my desk. But in this case, they're talking about every chapter is led by a handful of legendary champions, from the captains of each company to the vital support officers such as librarians and chaplains. This article provides an additional background tables you can roll on to produce titles and heroic origins for your captain, librarian, and chaplain on a bike. Well, mine's kind of already done for myself, but for the sake of having fun, where are my dice? So, the captain. Let's see how he's going to look. Or what he's going to be called. Or is this background? A 6. So, the captain has gained his reputation as a daring fleet commander, using his orbiting warships to support operations on the ground. His title is the Sword of the Stars. That's if you want to do that. You can name it anything you want. It's a great thing about a fantasy game. Chaplain on a bike, which I don't have. Not yet anyway. 4. The chaplain is a long-standing ally of my captain and, between battles, is a vital source of counsel and companionship for him. The captain's right hand. And lastly will be the librarian in Terminator armor. 1. Okay, a reasonable spread on this one. The librarian has studied the bizarre psychic abilities of the Tyranids and was elevated to the first company after countering them in a particularly fierce battle. So he's the Phobane. Now, when it comes to Tyranids, they are showing us 2 characters. In this case, it is the Winged Prime and the Parasite of Mortrex. Winged Prime name 3. The Winged Prime has been reported by Imperial forces for its uncanny abilities for prediction. It always seems to know the enemy's tactics ahead of time, and it's known as It That Knows. Rather worrying. Okay, and the Parasite of Mortrex. Let's get that in there. We get a 4. So the parasites Ripper swarms are notorious for their ferocious appetite, and they have been observed gnawing through rockcrete to get to fresh prey. And that gives it the battle name of the Font of Endless Hunger. I mean, they certainly put some embellishments on these, don't they? Definitely put some embellishments to make these sound as good as they can within the region. Good morning, Joey. Yeah, they are. The figurines are cool. It's just a shame the guy doing it is not so much. So in this issue, they're covering desperate measures and data sheets. So we have a couple of basic data sheets here. We have the Infernus Squad and the Von Ryan's Leapers. So before you battle, grab the data sheet for the Infernus Marines and the Von Ryan's Leapers. So it's going to want us to grab them data sheets from last time. So Wing Prime, Terminate Librarian, Terminators, Barbgants, which will be coming soon. Infernus Squad, there we go. Terminator Captain. I don't want the Terminator Captain, I want the Von Ryan's Leapers, please. And Von Ryan's Leapers, there we go. So we have the two data sheets that it will have. You'll have received these in the same issue as the models they came with. No, I got them with the Infernus Marines. I didn't get them with the Von Ryan's Leapers. In this battle, we'll be using these models' melee weapons as well as their toughness, save, and wounds characteristics, which is highlighted there. So the toughness, save, and then wounds characteristics. Same over here. Toughness 5, save 4+, wounds 3. Toughness 4, save 3+, wounds 2. Seems fairly simple enough. They've highlighted it nice and easy for us. And the close combat weapons down here. The Von Ryan's Leapers look like they might have a bit of an advantage in this one. Okay. So, in this mission, you'll consolidate your knowledge of melee attacks and fight phase in a fierce battle between a trio of Infernus Marines and one Von Ryan's Leaper. You'll use the data sheets provided for these models to work out how strong their weapons are and how effective and resistant they are. Good luck. We're gonna need it. To deploy for this battle, place your battle mat on a flat surface, preferably somewhere you won't be disturbed, and with room for you to also place this issue next to it. Next, place your models in the center of the board as seen in the example below, and make sure your dice are close to hand. With that, you're ready to go. Right, we found out last time that that big mat does not fit on my little tiny desk. So, we're going to cheat. We're not going to get the mat out, essentially. We're just going to do it without the mat. But first of all, I need to make sure I have my Von Ryan Leaper. Now, I have them in various stages, I believe, of... Do we want a painted one or a non-painted one? Which one do we want to go for? I think we should go for a painted one. And then we'll do non-painted for the Marines. Except for the Sergeant, which has got his shoulder pads done. We'll keep the shoulder pad Sergeant out. I just don't know which of the two big boxes under the desk that I've got the rest of the Infernus Marines. So these two that are sat nicely just waiting to be ready to be done can come down to help with Mr. Sergeant. And we have Von Ryan Leaper. He says now, well, I don't need the paint tray anymore, and I certainly don't need the water as much anymore, so I can make a bit more room on my desk so I can have things like dice trays and the magazine to hand, like it does say. Dice tray will be next because it will be plenty of attacks going on. We shall grab a dice tray just so we're not losing dice all over the floor. Always a nice way to do it. Make sure you don't lose dice, especially when you've got as many as most collectors of this game will have, having 200 to 300 dice in some cases is not a good thing. Okay, so how do we do this? To deploy, we set them up with Von Rheinleaper, and then pretty much he's getting ganked by 3 Space Marines like that. That's how it tells us to set up. What it wants us to do is put a big mat out to put that out. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry, my desk isn't big enough. And the camera doesn't like picking up way over there. But I can do it nice and easily there. They're on a grassy field. Okay. How to win. This battle ends immediately when all the models on one side are slain. The Von Rheinleaper is slain when it takes 3 wounds, and the Infernus Marine is slain when it takes 2 wounds. But we've got 3 Infernus Marines, that's 6 wounds. Once you've played through this scenario once, try using different number of Von Rheinleapers and Infernus Marines. Remember to increase the number of attacks you make for every Infernus Marine and Von Rheinleaper that you add. Okay. So it's going to want us to do what I'm guessing is another close combat round. This is exactly what it's asking us to do. Okay, so first of all, we use got the magazine telling us he wants us to keep that close at hand, but he also gives us these. So we're using just a close combat method this time, and each Infernus Marine gets 3 attacks with 3 pluses to hit at strength 4. Okay, so Infernus Marines that side. Just put Mr. Wing Prime up there for a moment because he's going to be converted to warrior. Yes, I will no longer have Wing Primes by the end of this. Good morning, Santino. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But hopefully we're going to get through this quicker than I usually do. So that is 3, 6, 9 attacks from Mr. Steadied Up Human. 3, 6. Now we'll use 3 different coloured dice. Why not? And they all get to attack at the Von Rheinleaper first. Okay, I'm just reading Steve's comment for a second. Bear with me one moment. Yeah, well, good luck with that. I hope the medication works, Steve. And yeah, I hope they do start going down. I really do. Which side do you want to win, Steve? Come on. Do you want the one Von Rheinleaper or do you want the Space Marines to win? That question, really. You collect Space Marines. So I'm going to guess you want the Space Marines to win. And I'm going to try and get as much of the dice tray in. There we go. All right. So we want 3 pluses on the 3 Space Marines to see if they actually can do anything to this Von Rheinleaper. What is it with my rolls? Am I like the worst roller in the world? Like, no. So 3 missed. It could be worse. See, I thought you'd want Grey Knights. I've not got Grey Knights. You can root on for the Stone Dragons if you want. But I have no Grey Knights. Now, with these being strength 4, basically all they're doing is run up and punching this thing in the face. It says close combat weapon for a Space Marine. That is his basically his armored fist. So it's strength 4 with no armor penetration, nothing to specifically gouge and break armor apart. But the Von Rheinleaper is a toughness 5, so he is tougher than they are strong. So that means it is to wound. Yes, they need a 5 plus to see if they actually wound it. In this case, 2. So they are not taking out the Von Rheinleaper in a single round of combat. They might wound it, the Von Rheinleaper, with its toughness 5 and its 4 plus save. There's no modifiers to that because of the Infernus Marines. So as long as he can make these 2 4 pluses, he's not even had a scratch. Which he doesn't. He fails both of them. So he takes 2 wounds because they're only damage 1 attacks. So I shall use the red dice just to show how many wounds he's got left. In this case, 1. He does get the chance to fight back. So that's 2, 4, 6 attacks just from 1 Von Ryan's Leaper. Remember, these are just close combat specialists. They just want to run in and charge in there. For him to hit with his 6 attacks, again, if we go to the card, it's tough to see on that. It does say 3+. Please take my word for that. My camera's just at 720p, does not want to focus on something that small. So 6 attacks at 3+ is to hit. We have a cock dice. Now, some people would take that as a roll. I don't. If it's a cock dice, you have to re-roll it in my house. In this case, he misses 4 out of his 6 attacks. He is, however, a strength 5 model with a -1 AP. So with the Space Marines being toughness 4, I've got one pointing to it, you can't see that. Toughness 4, there being strength 5 means it's easier to wound, so it's 3 pluses to wound on the 2 dice that actually hit. And I rolled double 2s. He does nothing. He does absolutely nothing. And to continue with the scenario they put out for us, we continue until one side has lost. That's what we do. So again, we go back to the Inferno squad. 3 pluses to hit, 5 pluses to wound. So 3 pluses first of all. 1, 2, 3. 4 of them do not. That's a 6. Shame it doesn't have lethal hits. But that's another rule we'll come to at another time. 5 pluses to wound. 2 wounds. 9 Dread Knights state. Why have you got 9 Dread Knights? You will never be able to field 9 Dread Knights. And 2 4+ saves from Ryan's Leaper. No. Von Ryan's Leaper loses his final 2 wounds, and the Marines essentially run up, and 3 of them team up on him, gang him, just into the floor. They win. Now, it does say to change around the numbers and how these work. So you can, if you want, do that. I'm instead going to move on to the next section because, well, the Space Marines wiped him out. And if I start adding more Von Ryan's Leapers in, the Space Marines don't have much of a chance. So we'll move on to the data sheets and attack sequence. So receiving your data sheets can be found on the Battlefield Essentials cards provided with these magazines. Keep these in a safe place. You will receive data sheets for every model in your collection. Well, that's nice to know from Hachette because they're going to be doing combat patrols for a lot of different forces. So if you're going to be getting data sheets for each one, that's a lot. That's going to save you some money on codexes. Or simply use the QR code down there that I'm keeping out of sight. To every data sheet in the collection, plus special rules from your combat patrols and more. So I'll get to scan that QR code and do something with it. Not sure. I'll have to scan it and find out. So this is telling us how to read a data sheet. A lot of it is quite simple. So it says the name of the unit. In this case, Inferno Squad. Name of the unit, Inferno Squad. How much they can move. Movement is usually the first statistic. In this case is 6 and is measured in inches. Next is toughness, essentially representing the resilience of that particular model. Then the armor save, so it's how tough their armor is and what chance it has to protect them. Then it's get it in the right view so it's not shining on the camera. Fourth one along is wounds, the amount of damage that individual model can take before it's removed from the board. Then we come to a stat that we've not used yet called leadership. This is how brave and determined they are while under fire. There are certain rules, especially with Tyranids and a couple of others, that will force you to take leadership tests. If you fail them, then bad stuff happens, including losing your objective control score, which is what comes next, and it tells you how good they are at holding certain battlefield positions. So those are the characteristics that would come across there. So going off that, an Infernus Marine has a 6-inch move, a toughness of 4, a save of 3+ on a 6-sided dice, 2 wounds, so you can take 2 damage, a leadership score of 6+, which is done on 2 dice, and an objective control score of 1. So they're not brilliant at holding down objectives, but they can hold an objective. There are some units that have an OC or objective control of 0. So they are useless for that objective thing. Coming down through this one, it tells us about weapons. So it'll tell you about the range of the weapon, whether it be 12 inches, 24 inches, or melee, meaning you've got to be right up in the face to get them with it. A, which is there, that stands for attacks. It'll tell you how many attacks you get with each weapon. So taking an Infernus Marine, he has a bolt pistol, which is 1 attack. He has a Pyre Blaster, which is up to 6 attacks. You roll a dice for it. Both of those have a 12-inch range, so they're ranged weapons. His close combat weapon, which I think, he's definitely using his fist. He doesn't have a blade on him anywhere. Is 3 attacks, as we've just been through. Hits on 3s and strength 4. So he's got to be right in front of them to use it, and he gets 3 attacks. The strength obviously indicates how powerful each weapon is. So the more powerful weapons are generally your anti-monster and your anti-tanks. A strength 4 is more of an anti-infantry. So in the case of this Infernus Marine, his flamethrower or his Pyre Blaster is more anti-infantry than it is anti-vehicle or anti-big thing, where they're only having a strength 4. Armor penetration will affect the save score on the model that you're attacking. So in the case of these, it's an AP 0. So the Von Reinsleeper got his full 4+ save if they was to burn him. If it was a -1, then you'd need a 5+ instead of a 4+, because you would -1 from the dice roll. So if you roll the 4, it'd actually be a 3. In the case of needing a 4, you failed. And the last one, which is D for damage, is how much damage each hit will inflict. With the case of all of these for the Infernus squad, each weapon deals 1 damage each time it causes a successful wound and they fail the saves. That was a long-winded method, wasn't it? That was a long-winded way around. Okay, next page is the attack sequence. The attack sequence is used when your units attack, either with their melee or their shooting weapons. Whenever you make an attack with your units, follow the sequence below step by step to resolve it. You will need the data sheets for your units on hand to resolve the attack sequences for them. This should be relatively straightforward, I hope. I'm still reading it. For each model in your unit, choose a weapon they can attack with. So, okay, it's got a bit of line of sight blocking stuff there. So I'm going to use Mr. Soappot. Okay, and it's thrown out. Basically, 2 can't see and someone needs to be able to. So these 2 can't see because they're stood behind it, and he's going to be stood over here. So that only this chappy here is going to be able to see. They're being blocked by a ridiculously big wall in front of them, so they can't physically see. You want me to make sure, look, see, these come down here, they're like, no, can't see him. Make sure he moves right out of the way. So they're fully hidden behind there, can't see him. Whereas this chap definitely can. Let's bring him back up to on top so we can see again. And try not to knock my Terminator Captain off the other shelf while I'm doing it. Okay, reposition the camera back again. There we go. So you will roll to hit in this case. So we select our targets. The Infernal Marines are going to be shooting the Von Rein's Leaper. You would pick the weapon that you would wish to use. In case of the Infernal Marine, he is within 12 inches. Let's just get a 6-inch measurer, a ruler, as they're more commonly known. And he's definitely in range for that. And then we follow the profile, and it has rules. This one has actual special rules to follow. It has a rule called torrent. If a ranged weapon has the torrent rule on the data sheet, you do not have to make hit rolls. Instead, each attack made with such a weapon automatically hits the target, making these weapons very deadly. But it does have a random number of attacks. So as it says here, it has D6 number of attacks. So although it auto hits, it's random how many times it will do that auto hit. So you need to roll to find out. In this case, it hit 5 times. Yes, anyone who's having to drop off, thank you very much for joining us. I'll continue to at least finish this shooting phase. So that's 5 hits that I got off there. So as it says, torrent weapons automatically hit. So that's why it has an NA where it says BS. It doesn't stand for bullshit. It stands for ballistic skill. And a pistol, which you can aim and shoot, has a 3+ chance to hit. So in this case, we got a 5. Then you follow the standard rules for wounding and armor penetration that you would follow on every other, whether it's a melee attack or a shooting attack. So this is strength 4, which is less than the toughness of a Von Rein's Leaper, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yeah, it is strength 4, and a Von Rein's Leaper is toughness 5. Yeah, get focus. There we go. Toughness, which is the second one, is 5. Well, 440 is better than 700 in fairness, Buzz. That is a much, much better save. Much, much better saving of, 700, 1500, and you just got it for 440. That is a big, big one. You have fun at work, Ali. Don't push it too hard. So we've got strength 4, which is less than the toughness, so we need 5 pluses to wound. Now we've got 5, so we've got a chance. Hey, 3 of them got through, and that's how many wounds it's got. It does not have an AP characteristic. So the target save is a 4+. With no AP, you keep your 4+. Obviously, if it had 1, you'd go to a 5. If it had -2, you'd go to a 6. And then if it had -3, you just would not get a save flat out. It did save on a 2+ invulnerable field on that one. That's a bargain. It's almost half price for what they were quoting at the bottom end. So let's see if this Von Rein's Leaper actually manages to deflect any of these flames. So he still wants to keep his standard 4+. Which he does. He saves 2 and takes 1 wound. It takes 1 wound, so he's down to 2, isn't he? There we go. And then for each attack that was not saved, your opponent chooses 1 model in a unit to be damaged. The damage is equal to the damage characteristic of the weapon. In this case, he saved 2, took 1 damage, so he's down to 2 wounds. A model loses 1 wound for each point it suffers. Once a model has lost a wound, all subsequent attacks must be made against that model. So now that, if this was a full unit of 3 Von Rein's Leapers, just for the argument's sakes, these 2 primes are going to fill in for them. Now that wounds have been allocated to this one, any future wounds have to be allocated to him. And then I can move on to the next once he's popped off and he's gone. So if I was to move and shoot again and all 3 of them were to shoot, I would have to allocate wounds to the one that's already taken them first. And I believe that is it for today. That is today's issue. Oh, that was quite a small one. I was expecting more from this. But then again, it is the painting issue. It is a paints issue, which, as I said, we did get paints through that. Burgundy's looking nice. I might try and incorporate that into my Tyranid scheme if I can. Maybe as a mid-tone or a highlight layer. I'm looking forward to that. If not, it's definitely getting used in Dungeons and Dragons characters, especially with Graham, friend of the channel, who's got licenses to print some 3D models. So I'll be looking into them hopefully in the future as well. But that all depends on what you guys say. Hello, Wallace. They do help build up. I think I've got 9 Von Ryan's Leapers now. 5 winged primes that I'm going to turn into warriors, which should be fun. But I've got a Neurolictor as well, just to help push those help those Von Ryan's Leapers when they're pushing forward a bit. So yeah, Neurolictor with there. So yeah, 9 Von Ryan's Leapers, a Neurolictor, non-emissary, non-annihilator, a unit of 5 winged warriors, and 40 shooty gaunts, 20 not shooty gaunts, and a couple of other things. Essentially 2 Leviathan boxes, 2 Norns, and a lot of extra combat patrol magazines. So that is Combat Patrol issue 4 covered, except for the story. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and save the stories up, and because I missed out on doing what I'm doing last time, then I'm going to try and build up the stories into more of a longer episode if I can. I'm not very good at reading the stories, so I could probably do best with recording them and then putting them out there. Lixie, you've never met her. She's the one that I've got is quite a brainy one. So just because Wallace has just turned up and said quite a nice force, I've got to put this fella away, so I might as well put the box on the counter, on the desk, I suppose. And maybe you can have a quick look and see what you can spot in there and see what you recognise. You're going back in, but you're going back up there. So I've got 2 models to come back into this box. And then I will be closing this down. He says, it never goes to plan, does it? Never. If one of my streams ever goes to plan, I want one of you to put the lottery on for me. Even if you only give me a tenner out of your millions, you can put the lottery on just because of the fact that my stream's got to plan for a change. So here we go. 2 pieces of protective layers out. We have half painted. You need to come out because you're not fully painted yet. Neither are you, neither are you, neither are you, neither are you. So all of them need to come out for now. So that's one of the Von Ryan's because that's just took a dive. That's good. I just give mine essentially a slap chop paint job. You're not finished yet, so you can go up there. You're not finished yet, so you can go out there. You 3 are definitely not finished yet, so you can come out. Oh, I might have 12 Von Ryan Sleepers, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're a swarm base that I've not done. Why have I not done that swarm base? That's one of the other ones. I can't remember what that is. Now, let's pull the ones out I actually need to finish off first of all. No, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you the other one? That's finished. Yes. 5. 6 finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 not finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's all 5 of them. Okay, so he can go in there because he's the finished one of them. There's 6 of them finished. What's that one called? What is that one called? That's the Neurotyrant? Neurotyrant, but it's not the Neurotyrant I'm looking for, is it? It's Alicta. So there you go, see. Oh, Neurotyrant, thank you. So, and then you've got the Neurolictor as well. So I've gone very psychic, as you can see, with my Tyranids. I should have some Psychophages in here somewhere as well. Yep, there they are. They're hidden right down at the bottom under. You go there for a second. What about Mr. Psychophage? So yeah, the Psychophages are in there. Obviously, you can't really miss 2 Norns. they take up most of the box. Well, that's the crux of my Necron Tyranid army. I don't have a Necron army. I painted a Necron army. I just don't own one. So I've still got a few to finish off. So when the painting issues come out, I will still have more to do. Don't you worry. And I might not necessarily use the colour that they suggest, but I will be going through small sections of paints. So I'll leave the Infernus Marines to come along with the actual magazine itself, and possibly what's going to end up as Warriors. I'll leave them as well to go along with as part of covering this. But you're going to have to let me know in the description down below if you want me to continue covering this magazine, because there is other things that I would like to cover, such as Graham's Hobby Corner. He's got a nice new range of proxy models out that he's 3D printing and selling of Space Bears. He's also getting Dungeons and Dragons characters. There's another gentleman that I'm on a Discord with who's got a collection of, I think, about 40 Dungeons and Dragons animals, similar to the Cats and Catacombs type thing that I did not long ago. So there's plenty of projects that I could go into. But if you want me to continue doing the magazine, let me know and I will continue to do it. But Templar main, here's where I'm saying this. To be quite honest, I think I've had 1 game of 10th and about 3 games of 9th. I've not really played properly since 7th edition, which was when I was playing pretty much every week. So don't worry about it, because this hobby is so multifaceted. You can just do the modeling, you can just do the painting, you can just do the gaming, and you get out of it what you get out of it. If you're not playing games, and as long as you've got a willing person to take over the other side, and you've got 2 armies, have a bit of floor hammer. See, Beaky Buzzard just does the watching. I'm trying to cover as much as I can, Steve, in all fairness. But this magazine comes out weekly, and I don't want to put down for a full subscription because it is a long subscription, 90 issues. So every Wednesday will be me covering the magazine. But my models and musings that I do at 9:30 GMT on Mondays, I don't know. It will be changing from week to week. So I might be doing a Space Marine, I might be doing scenery, I might be doing characters, I might just be cutting up phone blocks and having a chat to anyone who's in the chat. I think on Monday I watched The Awakening, which is a fan-made 40k story. I've got to say he did a really good job on that, especially for one person doing the animations and doing all the sculpting. The armor was nice. He fell down when, to be quite honest, most studios fall down, which is the faces and the realism. But I can't criticize a fan-made thing for something that multi-billion-pound industry can't get right. But his pacing, his setting, he got it all spot on. He got it absolutely wonderfully. even the intro, he gives you just enough of an intro so you had an idea of what might be going on. But after that intro, he went into the story, and there's lots of Easter eggs in it for the older players, as well as enough new stuff in there for people who don't know what it is to go, well, that was interesting, I'll go find out more. I mean, I like the Easter eggs of the circles within circles within circles within circles that the Dark Angels were playing in that video. It was like, is this that side, or is this that side? Have they been infiltrated by Cypher, or have they not? How's that playing out? We don't know. But it did a lot of fan services as well, especially some of the ways that the Tech Priest phrased his sayings was directly referenced to Voldemort, who was voicing him, which I thought was awesome. But that being said, I have been waffling on now for just over an hour when the magazine probably could have been covered in half an hour. So I am going to love you all and leave you. Thank you very much for everybody coming to join us. All the new people. So Wellish, thank you for coming in. I'm going to have to scroll back up through the list to find out everyone else's because I've got a memory like, goldfish. Francois, I did not see you sneak in there. Thank you for coming to join us again. Twisted, thank you as much. Steve, Ali. Also, we have Santino. Thank you for the first time chatting with us. Much appreciated, you and Wallace. Joey, and everybody who's been in to see me today. Thank you. It's all because I do get to do this because of you lot. So thank you very much. And yes, you are right. It is lunchtime, but I'm not going for a liquid lunch tea. I'm going to get something proper to eat. So drive safe, everyone. And I will hopefully see you all on Monday. If not, I'll possibly see you next week, providing that they do let the limited edition model out into stores. Because next week is the limited edition for Infernus Captain, and they don't always put that out into stores. So I will apologise now, just in case my local WH Smith does not get issue 5. I hope it does. Fingers crossed, eh? But yeah, drive safe, everyone, and yeah, have a good day.